Hello. We've made it. I always feel proud that we've made it live first time and I haven't had to do any mucking about. But I always felt that brief moment where I'm like, are we? Are we there? Is everything where it's supposed to be? And yes, it appears to be because I am here. And as I promised, upstaged by three rather wonderful people. Of course, we have my partner in crime, Chazza here. She of the Rachel Williams fan club. Down in the bottom left, we have the Alessia Russo fan club of Johnny K. And of course, we have Mark, who is officially just a fantastic fan who we absolutely adore and is more and more becoming my bro. It's happening. It's occurring. So, how are we all? Chazza, you okay?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to dissecting yesterday's performance with you gentlemen.
And by golly, is there some dissecting to do? Johnny K, you all right down there?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I got to give an analysis on the game yesterday. Unfortunately, I missed it because I was out Baptist, but I watched the highlights up. I watched the game on and off kind of thing, so I have a good idea what I want to talk about. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Fan Dabby Dozy, and of course, Mark, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Barry. Yeah, looking forward to having a very good discussion about what we watched yesterday.
Well, I feel, Mark, I have to be honest, that's led us in nicely that there is going to be quite a bit of discussion this evening because it is certainly a game that has divided opinion. And as we've said millions of times before, this channel is devoted to opinion. We are more than happy for people to come on and say what they feel and what they think. So do feel free. For example, we can just pop down here and say that Lanzel's in the chat and he's already gone, oh, I'm going to be a little critical tonight with a balanced opinion. And do you know what all we ask for is that. So there'll be many opinions that are mentioned, and I'm sure that we will be fair throughout it all because that's what ultimately we should be. So I'm just going to throw that one out there quickly just to kick off with. Anything you'd like to say on that one, Charlie? Get that out of the way.
Well, I think everyone's biggest fan should be their mum, I think. So I'm quite happy to slip seamlessly into second place.
It's funny you should mention, you say that everybody's biggest fan should be their mum, but not necessarily. Sometimes it can be your wife. So
yes. Or your dad.
Or your dad, yeah, true. Anybody really, couldn't it?
By the way, just before we move on, Charlie, I agree, your mum should be your number one fan. It's my mum's birthday today and I had a meal with her. So happy birthday to my mum. So, yes.
Happy birthday to Big Johnny K's mum. There we go. So let's get straight into it. And we'll kick off. Chazza, you were there with us. You came up bouncing, I think it's fair to say. Excited for the game. And we all were, weren't we? We all predicted a big win. But it's not, I'm afraid, what we got. How do you dissect what we got? What was your overarching feeling of the game? And how are you feeling about it today?
It was uninspiring, is what I would say. I will always have the added point of we did win the game of football, which is key. But I think when you are coming into the game in a rich vein of form, scoring the most goals in the league, coming up against the team who's leaking goals for fun, and I think has only strung 10 passes together 3 times across the course of the season, you're probably expecting more. Now, obviously, sometimes what can happen is you play really well and the goalkeeper turns into like prime Manuel Neuer, or you're just really unlucky. But Leicester also didn't offer very much, which made it a bit of a frustrating affair all round. Because I would like us to be turning over the likes of Leicester. And also it ruined my predictions league performance this week. Still first, but
I've got to be honest, Charlie. The minute you said 6-0, I thought,
yeah, I did 4-0, and then I thought, I think we're gonna bash them here. I'm gonna WhatsApp Barry and go, I'm going 6. This was well in advance, by the way. There's no cheating. And then I panicked and went, 6 is mental. We'll go 5. Definitely 5. No.
And the
Nowhere
depressing
near
thing
that.
is, Charlie, I'm sitting there thinking, well, she's gone 5, I've gone 5. This must be my nailed on 4 points for the week.
At least I think everyone went
Enough.
5. So actually,
Most people
no
did.
one missed out. What did
Mark's
you go, Mark?
shaking his head there.
10.
3.
Yeah, you know
3, 4,
what?
5. The amazing thing was the amount of people that got 2 on that game, because virtually everybody, I think the only person that said Leicester was going to score a goal was Jack, the Leicester City fan from Friday. And he point because he said we'd score 1. Sorry, John, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say 3-0, but I've gone too conservative with some of the predictions this season, like 3-1 with Reading, 2-0 with Brighton. I thought, no, I'm going to go for it, go 5-0, you know, and it wasn't a vintage performance. It wasn't, like I said, I was watching it on and off kind of thing. I think the thing that concerned me about yesterday was how much we rely on certain players. Like Owner didn't play yesterday, Maria played a right back, and you could tell Maria's not really suited to that position, and the Owner was a big miss. And obviously, I think yesterday also noticeable that we didn't really have a presence up front. I know Parris got the winner and with a good header and that, but there wasn't like that target in the centre, I felt. And I think this is what I will worry most about yesterday, that a couple of injuries to key players and we struggle. But on the flip side, I would argue, it's last season, that's the type of game we were drawing, you know. And last season, Leicester might got a late equaliser. And you look at it and you think, well, we are top of the league. 11 goals, 0 conceded, joint top, 4 wins out of 4. And you're not always going to play at your best. But it was a little bit of a worry yesterday. But obviously, at least we got 3 points. That's all that matters, really.
Absolutely. I think I have to just throw this up and go. That's a lovely thing for you to say, Connor. It really is. But it doesn't change. Okay, Mark, what was your thoughts before we get into the stats and
look? It wasn't great. We've all got to admit that. The manager said as much. It wasn't great. It wasn't a vintage performance from his team, and it wasn't. It was. I've not seen a side of his start off as slowly as that. We were slow. We were slow out of the blocks. However, there was a very smart person stood in front of me yesterday who said, and I quote, "You don't always have to play well to get 3 points." And that was Barry who said it. I say smart, and we didn't play well, but we got the 3 points. And, John referenced it before. Mark referenced it in his after-match interview. That's the game last season we would have probably lost or drawn. So we've had the performance wasn't great, but on the plus side, we're still unbeaten. We're joint top of the league. We've scored goals. All right, we didn't batter Leicester. Was it the end of the world yesterday? No, we still won. But we've got to look at the performance, and that's the only bit that was negative for me yesterday, was the performance.
It was a hard one. It really was. And I think this is ultimately, the talking point that we have to start with. The minute that we found out that Honor wasn't going to be playing the game, obviously the question was always going to be, what's the fullbacks going to be? And I have to say that of all the arguments that I've heard, all the thoughts that I've seen, this is the one I probably have the most sympathy with. Because Thor is not, in the nicest possible way, a right back. She's fine defensively, just doesn't offer us any impetus going forward. And I think that was what was really missing, is that Luthia and Nikita, both out on the right at times, they never had that option of the overlap that Honor would give them, or that opportunity to get the ball swung into the box. And it felt like everything needed to go down the left-hand side if the ball was going to come in. Katie Zellen's free kick came in from the left-hand side. It's like everything seemed to come from that side. Why didn't we put Charlie? Why do you think Maya Letitia was not put right back and Thor at centre-back? Because you've got to ask, that seems sensible. It's not like May's been a centre her entire career. She was right back for Brighton. So why do you think Skinner's chosen not to do that?
I don't know. It was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because that was kind of what I was anticipating was going to happen. I wondered if Tunkara might get some minutes and Maya would move there. Because Honor's world class, but it would have been more of a like-for-like, closer to a like-for-like switch than what we got. I wonder if because of how solid that centre-back pairing has been, he maybe didn't want to disrupt that. Because if you move Maya onto the right, you're then bringing in a new centre-back pairing, which can cause problems. We saw last year how much of a nightmare at times that could be, having a different centre-back pairing all the time, that creates a bit of unrest. But I think in hindsight, it was probably the wrong decision to have Maria right back, because obviously she's not match sharp. She's not played minutes. And you're quite right. There was no impetus. There was no penetration down that right-hand side, which also massively impacted, I think, what Lucia Garcia was able to do. So instead of doing the run now, instead of doing the overlap run on, she was kind of having to receive the ball with her back to the goal quite a lot. So it impacted what else we could do. And I was also quite surprised that a change didn't happen in that part of the pitch until it was forced. It was forced on 94 minutes. I think Thor injured herself. So yeah, it was the right thing for her not to play because it was a concussion, wasn't it? So they did the right thing. She couldn't possibly play the next game. But I feel like a better decision could have been made with regards to how we dealt with that. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. And I'd be surprised if he and Martin went that route again.
Absolutely. And no, Deborah, she's definitely speaking to everybody out there in internet land. That's for sure. Although occasionally she does talk to people like this. Look, hello there, little child. So, I presume that was a little tiny child.
What child? What do you mean?
This is wow. People need to rewind it just to see if that actually happened.
You're the likes a big Barbie doll.
Absolutely.
Barry, just pop up what Deb's just put as well, or that might come up later. Maybe the one about Wednesday night impacting subs. That might come up later. I don't know what people's thoughts are on that, because I was like chomping at the bit for Leon to come on, and wasn't. So I do wonder if that was going to come on to that. Yeah, that's fine.
Probably get to that in a little bit, I would think. But I suppose the question I wanted to ask Mark actually on this one is, we mentioned about possibly putting Maya right back and Thor centre back. We've also got the French captain, Tunkara, on the bench, who didn't get the opportunity at all. We're loath to sit there and have a go at Mark because we can see the way in which he's working and the things he's trying to do. And I think, you know, the conversations I've had with you, we look at this a bit more long-term rather than short-term reaction. But it does feel a little bit odd that the French captain had no opportunity to be there and we put a makeshift right back in there when we had a ready-made one.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've said it on the show after the Villa game when I said I don't like a central defender playing as a right back. It doesn't work. So I understood why he didn't split Maya and Millie up. I get it. You know, they've not conceded a goal, and I understood the logic. But when your best defender is, you know, and Honor isn't playing, you're going to have to change. So yeah, I found it weird that Tunkara didn't get a start yesterday. I also did find it a bit weird that Maya didn't move over to the right when you saw how Thor was struggling, because she was struggling. I mean, you know, she very rarely made a pass forward yesterday. It was always going sideways or backwards. So I would have thought from the sidelines, Mark would have seen that, or Martin would have seen that, and potentially asked Maya to move over and let Thor get more comfortable and put her into the game. As for Tuankara, look, I think she's nailed on to start on Wednesday night. I think that much we can probably all say, that she'll probably start Wednesday night. And I think Mark, I think she just wants to get into the groove of the club and get into it slowly. I don't think we can expect her to come out rampaging and be starting every week. I think he's going to be bringing her in bits and bobs.
Okay, which I think seems perfectly reasonable. And John, just before I bring you in, I feel like I knew at some point in this particular conversation my neck was going to bristle, and it has bristled. I don't think this is the case. I just don't. Leicester played a 5-4-1. I turned to Charlie at one point in this match and just said, why can't we get a goal? And Charlie said, it's in the vlog, and quite rightly so. I just think that Leicester don't want to get battered today. They didn't come there to win. They did not turn up at this football match in order to win a game. They just came in to not get absolutely battered because they knew that this new Manchester United side has the opportunity to do that. And I just don't think it was a case of we showed them too much respect. I think it's the other way around. I think Leicester have shown us too much respect and not even tried to go and win the game. And although the stats don't always bear that out, for example, they had 5 shots on target, so did we. We had 10 shots, they had 9. A lot of that is to do with just the way in which the game went. Our possession was 69%. That is, I double checked this, apart from the game against Reading, the best possession stats that we have had all season was against Leicester. So it wasn't that we didn't have the ball, it's just what we ended up doing with it. The shots didn't go in. 613 passes, which is more passes than any other game. The pass accuracy, amazingly, was 87%. I'm not sure how they counted that because every time I was looking, it didn't seem to go to a red person. But, again, best pass accuracy of the season so far. I'm not sitting here trying to claim that was a fantastic performance because, you know, Stevie Wonder saw that it wasn't the best we've ever played. But it is fair to say that I think it's fair to say it wasn't just a case of that we weren't trying. It was just a case of we just couldn't break through. Would you agree with that, John?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think when we say it wasn't a great performance, it wasn't, we're not saying it that we weren't in control. We were in control of that game. You know, it wasn't like we were in any particular danger. Like I know Mary Earps made a good save in this half and that, but, you know, we were, you know, we did deserve to win. You know, we weren't like, it was like, oh, we were lucky to get a win. You know, we were the best team. But for me, like you say, we were in control. We controlled the possession and that kind of thing. And the way Leicester set up, and this is where it goes back to playing Maria at right back. When you play 5 at the back, and you have to break that down, you got to try and get as many people forwards as possible to, you know, make space and everything, because otherwise it'll be easy to defend against. And yesterday, obviously, the goal came from a set piece, and a lot of our attacks came from the left-hand side. Yeah, Parris in the sense, and obviously she got the goal, but you can't rely on her, you know, due to height and playing 5 at the back. You can't rely on her to get her head on it every time. That's why we miss Ruth so perhaps because she does have that heading ability. And then when you look on the right-hand side, if you're getting the ball in, Lucy's on the right wing, but she's supporting Parris in the box then. So if the cross misses both of them, you want Maria on the other side trying to get back in, but obviously she doesn't think like Ona, she's further back. So therefore, you couldn't sustain that pressure because, you know, Maria was more conservative and she isn't used to playing that Ona role, because Ona would have been further up the pitch if she was playing. And this is why I think we got to be better at breaking these down. This is why I was saying before about if you're missing certain players from your team, a couple of key players, we are very short, potentially, you know, a couple more injuries. You know, if Tooney gets injured or Zellum gets injured, you might draw that game, you might even lose it. So it was good that we actually got the win, but it's something we got to get used to, that 5 at the back, and therefore you have to try and play down the channels and bring players out of position, pass quick, and that unfortunately we didn't do it. Not everyone was thinking on the same wavelength, and for me that's where we went wrong yesterday. Fair
enough. I know Charlie just wants to jump in, but just before she does, you need to know, in case you haven't seen it already in YouTube land, that as we're talking about this game, the player of the match poll is open. You wouldn't think there was one based on the way it's been going so far, but there's 4 rather cool people to choose from. This is going to test my brain power now as to what I told Connor to put on there, but I'm pretty sure we went for Mary Earps, Lucia, Nikita Parris, and
El Capitano.
Katie Zellum, of course it was. Thank you very much. Struggled there, pressure, it got to me. Charlie, go on, carry on. What are you going to say?
Yeah, just sort of to jump on the back of what John was saying, really. There's a couple of comments. I think one from John Fry and one from someone else. I can't quite remember who it is to go back through. Where it did seem a little bit. I wonder if we looked shorter than we are with regards to available players, because there was a little bit of square pegs in round holes going on. There was a good point about why bring Martha Thomas on to play as a winger when there actually was scope to do something a little bit different there. Because she didn't have a great game when she came on. So there's a little bit of that for me. I think there was too many players that just had a stinker as well. So there's too many players that didn't play well enough for all sorts of reasons. And we might get into who some of them are. And that's not just talking about the subs. I think the subs were indicative of what's happening on Wednesday night, in my opinion, which probably means they were the wrong ones. Which is a bit frustrating because it's not like we're overloaded with games, is it? I think some of these players can afford to be playing 2 games in a week. But I also feel like at times the end product was poor. So it looks like, we should have made it Leicester more comfortable than we did, obviously. But the final cross was poor. My brother was there with his son. He's an Arsenal fan. Boo. But he was saying, there was crosses into the box, but they were just like really loopy high over everyone. And when you've got shorter attackers, it probably makes more sense to whip it in across the floor rather than these massive crosses that are going over everyone. And then John's quite right. There was no one then sweeping that up and bringing in the second delivery. And there was also, I think, 2 or 3 1v1s that just hit straight at the keeper. And then all of a sudden things look very different. I wouldn't mask the fact that maybe the rest of the performance wasn't so great, but there was issues there that... Yes, there were mistakes tactically, and yes, there were mistakes with the substitutions, and I'm sure the coaching staff will discuss that. But there was also a handful of players that didn't do, I think, their job well enough. I don't think. And we did talk a little bit in the stands about was there a little bit of the mentality potentially that, oh, it's only Leicester, we've probably won this game just by rocking up, maybe. Because my brother also said, I won't name drop him, he also said he wonders if when you're playing, he said, because the difference in quality was actually obvious, even though we didn't have a brilliant game, so it was obvious. He said Leicester weren't doing anything. They weren't trying to do anything. And sometimes, and I'm not saying it's right, but sometimes when you're playing such poor opposition, I wonder if it's difficult to get yourself up for that when you're playing against a team that are just not doing anything. So I don't know. I'm not saying all of these things are correct and that I think they're fact, but I'm just wondering if that was an element as well. But I do think for me, the main thing was there were too many players who did not do their job well enough during that game, because there were other players having to do a heck of a lot, I think, because of that.
There were a lot of conversations, and of course, Lanzo's spoken about dominating Leicester in regards to stats and us being on the ropes for a bit. And we were. There was a moment where, I remember turning around to both Deb and Mark and going, oh, I'm not feeling comfortable here, because there was that brief moment. But I think what Connor's put here about playing on a low block, we didn't do it, but we did win ugly. Everybody's going on about how we should be getting more. Mark, we did win ugly, and I've said it before, that's the mark of champions to do that.
Yeah, Fergie said it best. Clean sheets win your titles. And you know what? We've kept a clean sheet in every game. There's a couple of points on this, and I can't remember who it was who said it, but we've seen walking football played quicker than what we saw from United yesterday. I can't remember who said it yesterday. It was either you or Charlie Barry. I can't remember who said it. And you're right. I mean, I've not seen Leah that slow ever. And it was slow yesterday. Our build-up was slow. Look, we can say United didn't play well, and they didn't, and it's the truth, and we've all seen it. But you've also, Leicester came not to get hammered. That's why at points, as Ian said, at some point, they were having 6 in the box defending at all times. They just came not to get battered. And tactically, we should have been able to suss them out for that point. If they didn't get to beat. But as Charlie said, and I completely agree, there was too many of our players who just didn't turn up. And look, when you look at that starting 11, take out Thor. If Honor was in that starting 11, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation because we would probably batter them because she would have brought the energy. I don't understand his starting 11. I understand the logic around it. I think, against Leicester, you really need to have Lucy Stan and Zelly together. Play another winger, play another attacker. I don't think you needed that, personally. But I understood his logic. Look, we won ugly, and we won. And we're here sitting here and saying it's the worst thing we've ever seen. But we won. 3 points. Yes, we didn't batter them, but we won.
And I really want to point this out. I feel like Marc Skinners come in for what can only be described as an absolute battering. The man is currently... He's overseeing a side that after 4 games is joint level with Arsenal. We've scored 11 goals, which is the most of any team in the WSL alongside Arsenal. We've conceded none at all, which is, again, only again. I mean, Arsenal are top based on the fact that their name begins with the letter A and ours begins with the letter M. 4 games in. Chelsea have also scored 11, but have conceded 4. Played a game more and are on the same number of points for us. Now, I refuse to believe that there is a supporter out there who, if that had been offered to them at the beginning of the season, without being told what the scores were going to be, would have sat there and said, don't like it, Skinner out. And if they did, I feel like you need your head tested, because that's madness to feel like you could be sat in a situation where you're top of the table and we're getting this level of negativity, bearing in mind that everybody keeps trying to tell us we're going for third. John, what's your makeup and your thoughts on what's going on at the moment in terms of the way in which we are judging this team?
Well, it's as if some people want everything, don't they? And I just think that I've read some of the social media comments today, and some of them saying, "Oh, there's some people are critical and all that." They won't take criticism from the team and all that. But we've shown you can criticise the team like for yesterday. We got to balance out and say, well, we did actually win the game. And like you say, if you'd offered us the start of the season, we would 100% taken it. And I just think you can get carried away. But so we have made a very good start. I was watching the Chelsea game. Yes, I know. I'm sure they will eventually finish above us, and that possibly this season it'll take them time to get into the groove. But like you mentioned, they've conceded 4 goals this season, and I was watching Brighton game. Even though they kept a clean sheet yesterday, they looked like they could concede. And it'll be an interesting. I'm saying the game in a couple of weeks. That'll be a really interesting game. I'm not sure you can possibly call that result, but I just think that we haven't conceded. Have we really looked like conceding? I personally think we defended very well. There's been nothing from any games where I thought, oh, we're going to concede a goal here, because we looked solid at the back, and maybe that's why I stuck with Letitia and Turner as his centre, because they are, they built a good understanding. If you were to break that up, we might not be solid. Yeah, maybe Maya might have done better at right back than Maria yesterday, but you still got to keep the balance of the team. And you mentioned square pegs in round holes, but Skinner probably thought long and hard about it in terms of but he doesn't want to pull players who already started as well. He doesn't want to pull them out of the position which they're used to playing in as Well, that's the other argument you can use. And for me, it's right to be critical at times. And like I say, there were some concerns and worries I had by the level of the performance. We did win 1-0, but we struggled to break down a back five. And in the future, some of our opponents, like we got Everton next week and other teams, they might set up the same way. And we've got to be willing to demonstrate that we can break that down. We did manage to do it yesterday once, and it was enough to win the game. But this is where we need to identify. We do need to strengthen as well still, because like I say, if you have a couple of key players out, we might struggle. And we're not, I don't think any of us expect us to win the league. We just expect them to be competitive. The target is the top three this season, ultimately. And at this present moment, we are making good progress. Obviously, we got big games to come and that, but, be critical where you can be critical, but also let's recognise we've had a good start as well.
Can I
go for it, go.
Can I just jump in? Everyone is on, I've seen social media today, not as much as that, and everyone's been critical of Marc. Look, I've been very privileged. I've sat down with him twice, and I've got to know him as the manager of Manchester United. There will be no one who will be more upset than that performance yesterday than him. He would go home last night and he would have watched that game and he would be really upset about it. He said it in his post-match conference. That's not a performance from a team I want to manage. He said those words, and those words, yes, they may sound hollow to a lot of people out there in social media world. But if you look at him after the game, yeah, he's happy we won, but he's not happy about the performance. And look, we can all sit, if anyone would have offered that, you made that point. If you would have offered us after 4 games, we'd have been joint top of the league, scored 11, conceded none, I would have snapped your hands off it. And you know what? Lansell put in the comments before, we all know this turns out, how this turns out. Well, we don't right now. We really don't. Yes, City and Arsenal and Chelsea, they'll all pick up points. But there's nothing to say that we won't. This season, I feel we are a different animal than we were last season. We've got a bigger squad, and we've got more players to choose from. Yes, he didn't bring on players at the right times yesterday. We'll all say that. But we are a different animal this season. And I think we're 4 games in. If we were 4 games to go when we were in this position, then I would understand the panic. But it's 4 games.
It's incredibly hard. And I think what Deborah said here is fair. The demands that he's made publicly means he's right for criticism. It's the territory in the United manager. But he's always said, 1 game at a time, win the next game. And yes, we all sat there and, I'll admit, I was one of those going, look, we need to change this right back situation if we want to get forward and get any goals, because we're not attacking down that side at all. And I do get that. I do understand that. But equally, is there not a case, Charlie? Is there not a case for the simple fact that we were winning that game? Leicester didn't really have that many options. The only chances I really saw them have were when Earps had a little bit of a miscommunication, shall we say, with some of her defenders a la Everton, which didn't end up in quite such a bad situation. But we still have to sit here and say we won the game 1-0, we got 3 points. And ultimately, if we get 3 points out of every game, playing, whether we're playing the way that we did there or whether we're playing the way we did against Brighton and Reading, it's still 3 points. And it's still very likely, well, it will put us in the Champions League. If you won every single game, you would do that. And by default, you'd win the league as well. I can't hear you. You've muted yourself, my love.
Sorry, I was in a Barry trance there. I was just so engrossed in what you were saying. Yeah, of course. The most important thing is that you win the game of football. I think I had this chat with Connor when we did the Lionesses show, and there was that discussion at England robbed Spain of that quarter-final victory. And I'm going, I don't care. I don't care if they did. They won the game of football. That's all that matters. And yeah, absolutely. Winning that game of football is the most important thing. And it might be if we reach the targets we reach, it might be a game like this we look back on and go, crikey, that was squeaky, but my goodness, at least we won it. When maybe previously we wouldn't have. I think I also think there is nothing wrong with having high expectations of player performance, particularly when you look at who the opposition are. So I get that. And I wouldn't think anyone would be disappointed with winning. I get the disappointment with how we played. I totally get that, because I was like standing on hot coals at the game, all over the place, up and down those steps at that vomitory, like non-stop. But yeah, if you win the game of football, for me, it doesn't matter how you win. You need to get points on the board. And actually, it's that thing of as the league becomes more competitive, it's the points that are key. The goal difference is, you want to have a good goal difference, but the more competitive the league becomes, it's the points you need to get on the table. Because you could win loads of games 4 or 5-0 and lose 2. And it means you don't win anything. Or you could win one more game than that team, but you win all your games 1-0 and you win the league. Obviously, you go with that option, don't you? So yes, performance was disappointing, but absolutely key is that we won that game of football, which we did. And I wonder if last year whether we would have or not.
Well, we wouldn't. Simple as that. You look at the amount of games we drew last year, we absolutely wouldn't. One of those goals would have gone in and would have won, or we would have gone home crying.
Leicester were rubbish. They didn't offer anything, which again adds to the frustration, doesn't it, that we didn't do more. It does add to that level of frustration. They were so poor. Why didn't we do more? But we didn't. It's really irritating. But it also, for me, this performance doesn't come off the back of 3 other diabolical performances before this. We've been doing really well, along with Arsenal, with a form team. And like you say, of course you would take it. I don't know how you couldn't take us being in this position at this point.
Absolutely. So this is a question to all 3 of you. I don't mind in what order you decide to do it, but Lanzel's thrown this out. Who have we played this season, or out of who we played this season? Is there any team that really we shouldn't have won against, looking at fixtures at the start of the season? I think basically what he's trying to say is we'd be expected to have won all 4 of those, wouldn't we?
Yeah, of course. But if you ask Chelsea fans, would you have expected to beat Liverpool? They would say yes. You could ask Man City fans, would you expect to beat Arsenal and not Arsenal, sorry, Aston Villa, and they would say yes. So yes, I would expect us to beat those 4 teams. If my answer was no, then there's something wrong, isn't there? There's something massively wrong. But you see in football all the time, there are games you should be expected to win, and at times you don't. Man United men lost 4-0 to Brentford earlier in the season. No one was expecting that. It happens. And if you're beating the teams that you're expected to beat, that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah. And these are
there's a big difference, isn't there, between being expected to beat a team and actually winning them?
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that I mentioned this on the show was last on Barry. We won 4 of our 11 league games last season away from home. We've already won 2 out of 2 this year. West Ham was a game that we drew last season late. That game wasn't too dissimilar to the Leicester game yesterday. We're learning we won yesterday. We won away at West Ham 2-0, which is a difficult place to win at. It is a difficult. You have to play well to win at West Ham. And that's the other thing that, you'd expect us to win the 4, but you look at it from last season, we won 1-0 at home to Brighton last year. This time we won 4-0. Chelsea only beat them 2-0 yesterday. If you compare it to that, and also Reading, we won 4-0 on the opening day. Arsenal only beat them 1-0. I know that it's at home and away, that kind of thing, but you can't just... If football was decided on paper, it'd be an easy game, and it isn't. And the fact is that, we have won games better than what we might have expected to. Like, maybe we wouldn't have expected to win both games 4-0 against Brighton and Reading. You can't just beggars can't be choosers. Football's about results and you're winning them, and that's all that matters. Even if you're not playing well like yesterday, you've won the game, and that's all that matters. Our worst performance, it might be our worst performance this season, yet we still won it. And that's all that matters.
I think before yesterday, I would have said the team that we've struggled against is West Ham away. They are notoriously hard. They were hard to break down. However, last season, as John said rightly so, they scored within the last couple of minutes, And it's probably what they deserved last season at that game. It was, it was just an awful game to be at. Look, the games that we've started with the exception of the Spurs game, because we don't know how that was going to pan out, I would have said, 12 out of 12 in the first 4 league games. There's no doubt about it. Those are the teams that we should be beating each and every single week. There's no question. And whatever you get from the Cities, the Arsenals, and the Chelsea games, you take that as an added extra. That's the way I look at it. Because Chelsea, look, we can all laugh and joke about where Chelsea and City are right now. Chelsea are the best team in the WSL by a mile. And we all know that. And Chelsea will come good. We all know that. City are the ones who I think are a bit, we can take them this season. And I truly think we will. We'll give City a good push for our money. So the games for me to look out, look, the Arsenal game in a couple of weeks, it's going to be a great game at the Emirates. Well, then we've got City at the Etihad. And look, we're going to be coming with, hopefully, 3,000 fans to the Etihad. 3,000. Now, they think they'll make a roar. We'll make a roar as well. But we'll do it in a way. And look, win, lose or draw that game, it won't define the season. What will define the season is beating the Leicesters, the West Hams, the Readings, and all those teams. That's where our season will be. And whatever we get from the other top, we'll get as a bonus. But we have to beat the teams that are beatable and not the teams we drew with last year.
And can we also, because I feel like it's bizarre, probably because I'm the host rather than contributing, it seems to have gone quite negative in terms of where we've been. But can we just take a moment to just go, Nikita Parris, what a header that was, and Katie Zellum, what a ball. Because that goal was outstanding, wasn't it, John?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was, great. I've only seen one angle of it. Barry, and that was your video. So,
there is one the FA player. It's at the opposite angle, but it's not as good as mine.
Absolutely. So, but no, because as I mentioned, I was at the bats, and unfortunately, I did miss the goal. But it was a cracking header by Parris, and this is what I'm talking about. That, but obviously, as we know, Zellum is brilliant at set pieces. We're always going to get goals from set pieces throughout this season when she's on them. We've already got, 3 or 4 this season so far. So, it was a cracking header by Parris. And, it's good that she's our first league goal. And I sent into our chat before that Parris is our first player to score in 2 separate fixtures this season, isn't she? So it's good that she got the winning goal, and hopefully she can go from strength to strength. And it was very good to see.
Absolutely, and Charlie, out of those goal scorers we've had, we've scored 11 goals in the WSL. 9 different players have scored those goals. We've got May Letitia, Katie Zellum, Alessia Russo, Lethea Garcia, Blundell, Ella Tu, Leah Galton, Adriana Leon, Nikita Parris. 9 players, 11 goals, with Letitia getting 2 and Toon getting 2. 2 for Toon. Oh, how much I enjoy that. But that's unreal, isn't it?
Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? That's so good. That's like virtually all of your starting 11, isn't it? It's not far off. That's incredible. But also, along with that, assists from everywhere as well. So if you notice, from fullbacks, from midfielders, from Tooney, from Galton. So everyone's certainly putting a shift in there, which was dead important with Russo being unavailable when she's the focal of most of your attacks. So everyone's certainly pulling their weight. There's just one more player who we need to get the goal. That was super exciting.
She's gone to PSG.
Millie Turner.
No, I thought she was. I thought Williams.
Hasn't scored yet.
You know who she's after.
She's gonna bully. She's gonna bully those Durham defences. Rachel Williams.
I'll say Martha Thomas, but to be honest, I don't have much hope for her.
Listen. TJ's worked it out. Come on now, it's quite obvious. We're all
TJ, mate. Honestly, again at the game, outside the box, along the floor, it was like slow motion again, wasn't it? And then it was like slow motion. I was like, and I looked over, And those lot were just looking at me, looking at
Because
Rachel.
the ball was,
like
because the ball was going that slowly. We had a chance to have a good look at you for 10 minutes before the ball actually got to the goal. It was like,
I know.
no, it's still not got there yet.
I was slightly disappointed with Charlie on one thing at the Brighton game. Her first touch, I was the first to cheer it.
She's done such a job, you know. Do you know what was annoying about the Leicester game when she came on? Because she's just physically stronger than everyone else. Every time she won the ball, the referee just gave a free kick to Leicester.
Yeah.
Every time. They used to do that with Lauren James as well. Just don't be stronger, please. It was so frustrating.
To be honest with you, Charlie, I was just pleased that you went and got a photo with her rather than shaking her hand, because I'm not entirely sure you'd be able to use your hand at this point. It's like
absolutely crushed
Terminator.
This tiny little gibbon hand. Yeah.
Well, this is exactly what I do want to say. Charlie had wanted to, shall we say, frequent the facilities that are available at Leicester. There was a rather large queue, so we were very worried about Charlie.
Well, there was a certain person who we used to chant about going on the pitch for when she scored. Unfortunately, it never happened. So,
well, yes,
so
and the very fact
we
that
need
Rachel
to get that chant for Rachel, don't we?
But that was sung yesterday in the stands, wasn't it? When Rachel scores were on the pitch.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic.
So we've just refreshed it slightly.
Good.
Well, Mark, I'd like you to respond to this one because Charlie's too emotionally invested and John wasn't there. So why did we sign Rachel Williams? She was at least 2 yards off the pace and could not possibly compete in the Champions League. How would you retort to that?
I would say it's probably... Look, I understood at the time it wasn't the most popular signing, but I don't think we brought her in to score a bag load of goals. I thought we brought her in for her experience. And actually, yesterday, her experience showed on that pitch, and it really did. Last season, we had a very, very young team. We had no one who has the footballing, nous to slow the play down, to dictate what to happen. And Rachel Williams did that yesterday. So we brought her in for her experience, for her for what she knows of the WSL. Look, at the time, I get it wasn't a marquee signing, but it's a shrewd signing, and she can pass down her knowledge to some very young players who will only get better. She'll chip in with the odd goal. Look, I'm going to say this now. She's going to score. I reckon she's going to score on Wednesday night, Rachel Williams. I reckon she'll score. And hopefully I'm not stood too close to Charlie at the time because I might not be able to walk out of there. She'll be jumping all over us. It's a shrewd signing from Marc. It's not popular within the fan base. I understand that. But look at what she can give to the team rather than how old she is or what she doesn't give. Just look at what she will give instead. And that's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. And yes, she is.
No, I'm not.
Yes,
I'm not.
you are.
In my head, I read that as like a sign. You know, like someone who goes with a sign.
I think you should go with like the lad baby one. You know, the guy who got the number one, just a yes, mate. On for you.
Oh God. Can I just say, like, I like Rachel Williams because we're friends now because I met her that one time for 7.5 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't think she is the best player at Manchester United. Can we just squash that immediately?
I don't think anybody believes you. So there we go. We finally have someone ahead in the poll. That is true. I'm going to give you the whole 60 seconds to get your vote in for player of the match if you haven't already. I just want to throw a few things out there. Absolutely. She scored 2 goals for us, and she is currently the only player to score in more than one match, as told to me by Big Johnny K earlier on. So, yes, absolutely. Williams will good. Yes, she will be good. I think that's what you're trying to say. I think so. I think you're so excited that the English language has lost you briefly there.
It's catching. It's catching. Rachel Williams' excitement is catching.
Absolutely.
Like a yawn.
I think the other thing to mention this season, the goals we scored, they've all been good goals, haven't they? I don't think there's been a goal where that was a bit scruffy. I can't remember any. But I think they've all been good goals this season, haven't they?
Well, we're going to move on to the Durham game.
Just very quick.
Yes, go on.
Very quickly. if we're talking about goals, you've got to talk about the assists. And last season, Tooney basically gave every goal. She was the assist queen last season. You look at the assists so far this season. Zelly's got 3, Honor's got 3, Leah's got 2, Maya's got 1, and I think Tooney's got the other one. So now we're not only spreading the goals around, we're spreading the assists around. So the team's evolving, and that surely is a good thing.
Yeah. It shows that you can. If you stop one, you got to stop another, and then if you stop them, so you got someone else to deal with. It's definitely a positive.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, time to look at the poll very briefly. I can confirm that Lucia Garcia may have came to us from Spain, but she's going to have to feel the pain of just 12% today.
Aww.
Just 12% of the vote has gone to Lucia Garcia. And Mary Earps, 23%. She was in third, which is, probably about right, to be fair. We were thinking about where she's really good. She made a fantastic save, but equally could quite easily have, with her miscommunication, left us in a situation where we could have conceded. So I think I would take that, which meant it was between Katie Zellum and Nikita Parris. Now, I vote in these things, and I can confirm that today I voted for Nikita Parris. That was who I voted for. Because I felt like that goal was worthy of her getting it. However, 31% of the populace went for that, thus making her the penny mordant to Katie Zellum's Rishi Sunak, as Katie Zellum
that wasn't that close. That wasn't that close, was it?
No.
And is the candidate with the most votes. So, Katie Zellum, congratulations. The one time I don't vote for you, and you win it. So maybe I'll try that more often, Katie.
Yeah.
But there we go. Do we agree with that? Quick answer, everybody there. Charlie, Katie Zellum.
I voted Katie. I thought the assist was the bit of quality that we needed. Really, really good cross into the box. And I also, when we had the chat earlier, in my opinion, some players weren't up to par on Sunday. I felt like she was one of the players that therefore was having to play a little bit as right back, a little bit as the DM, a little bit as the number 8, a little bit as the number 10. I think she also made the most. She also, if you really get into the nitty gritty of the stats, which sometimes count and sometimes don't, depending on the player. But if you look at Zellum, she made the most interceptions and the second most tackles. And then if you look at our defenders, they had to do very little of that. Now, that's probably testament to the job that she was doing in front of them.
Absolutely. John, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually went for Paris because obviously it wasn't a great game, and ultimately she was the match winner with a brilliant header. But of course, Katie put a brilliant ball into the box. So yeah, I'm not got too many complaints. It was going to be one of those two, wasn't it? And yeah, they both played well. And but yeah, I think Katie probably was just, even though I voted Paris.
And Mark, your thoughts?
I voted Zelly. Without that ball into the box, that goal would never have been scored.
But without the header from Paris, it wouldn't have been scored.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Charlie, yes, I agree with Charlie. Yeah. She was all over the pitch yesterday, Zelly, and she was one of the few that stuck in a shift. For me, it was tough. I mean, it was Zelly or Mary. I think the goal was great, but Mary, that save alone from Mary was top draw, but it had to be Zelly. Charlie wants to say something.
Can I say one thing? Can I say a quick thing? Because I always have little highlights that sometimes don't go missed, but I'm sure Deb saw it as well. One of my highlights was, obviously we were ragging on Maria for not getting forward enough and not getting overlap. There was one time when she did get really far forward and she shouldn't have done. And you just heard Zelly turn around and go, "What are you doing up there? Get back here." Because she'd had to come into right back. Do you remember? I thought that was funny. But again, that was her bossing them around, wasn't it? Trying to get them into line.
She probably didn't know what she did.
I mentioned
she was giving a batsman a fine job at right back, wasn't she? So.
I mentioned that the team had an 87% pass ratio, pass success, And Katie actually had 81% passing accuracy throughout the match. She completed 100% of her attempted tackles. She had the most chances of any player in the match created, which was 3. She contributed 3 interceptions, and her player of the match rating was 8.2 out of 10, apparently, according to News Magazine. So just goes to show that's the type of thing we get from Katie Zellin week in, week out. And I would vote for her most weeks, to be honest with you. And yes, this was a blinder played by you, Mr. Mark. I completely agree. And I also agree with this. I think all of us here at All for United WFC would just like to point out to anybody from Leicester who's watching, give us an away allocation, you absolute planks. Would be the way I would.
Yeah, it wasn't the nicest of pre-build-ups to the game. What happened?
It wasn't.
However,
would you like to make a public apology to the smaller Leicester team, Barry?
No, because I feel like I've given them a little bit more exposure than they've maybe had before.
For the abuse from United fans after it.
I mean, at the end of the day, it had the Leicester City logo. It's not like I sat there and went, "Oh, it's just they say Leicester." So anywho, but yes, I didn't like it. I was sat in front of some Leicester fans.
We do need away ends,
and it meant I couldn't stand up, even though I am small and most people can see over me. Tiny children sat in a chair cannot. So it was really, really horrible to not be in that position.
Look, it's an issue within the WSL. The big teams give us, the smaller teams don't, because they don't have. All right, let's put our cards on the table. We take a travelling support with us. The Leicesters don't. The Brightons really don't. None of the smaller teams do it. So they won't go to United and go, "Oh, can we have an away allocation?" Because they don't have one. They don't have an away support. They'll have some fans that go. I'm not saying they don't have anything, but the Cities, the Arsenals, the Chelseas, and the Spurs, more than likely, will always bring away fans. So they'll come to United and go, "Can we have a little bit of LSV?" And we'll go to them. Or can we have a little bit of, Kingsmeadow or Boreham Wood or wherever? It has to change because, look, for me, the WSL, the game will not grow unless you have a rivalry. And unfortunately, the rivalries are not going to happen. I don't go to football to make friends. I go to football to support my team for 90 minutes and leave and go home. That's what I do. I don't want to sit with a Leicester fan and tell me about, "Oh, isn't it nice that my pie's got a Leicester fox on the top of it?" No, I don't care.
It was a beautiful pie, though, Mark.
Look, do you know what? You should have had the chicken and balti pie. I told you were wrong on that issue. And that, for me, is part of the issue, is that the game needs to grow. And for it to grow, you need the rivalries. And for the only way to get rivalries is to have opposition fans against, not with home fans. Hopefully it changes, but I don't see it for a while.
Look, have you noticed as well that the games when it's not official, where we make our own, a bit like Leicester and Villa and West Ham, these small children that the FA are trying, or whoever is trying to protect from away fans, they're the ones looking over and absolutely loving it and trying to get involved. There was little groups of Leicester City fans, I think, boys and girls, sat not too far away from us, who were loving it, and then that was making them want to also get involved in chants for Leicester. So it's just a myth, isn't it?
But when you had on the row where we were, when you had on the row, you had a father and daughter who were Leicester fans, and they didn't like because we were stood up and singing. Yeah. What do? You can't say to them, "Sorry, this is what's going to." I did feel generally sorry for them, but there is an easy way to stop that from happening. Give us an away allocation.
Yep,
it's that simple.
It really would have been easy, wouldn't it? And I did feel sorry for the stewards, and I've tweeted that today. It's a hard situation to be in. They've got to follow the rules of the ground because that's what employs them. And ultimately, you're supposed to sit in the seat that your ticket was in. I sat in my one until I saw where the space was, and then I moved so that I wasn't in the way of those kids.
The steward yesterday, when I spoke to him, and before that, he had a heated moment with a few of our fans. And it calmed down. and I spoke to him calmly and rationally, as I try to do with most people. And he said, look, I know there's an issue with our ticketing site, which there is. You can only buy one ticket per supporter, per number, and all that. He said, and not everyone will sit in their seats. He said, however, you might get the one or two people who go, no, I've paid for that seat and that's where I'm going to sit, who will demand that. And he goes, those are the ones that will want to kick off. He said, and that's the truth, and he's right about that. And we can't not look at that people have paid to sit in that seat, and they may want to. Those are the issues.
Big issues. But yes, hopefully they will start to the teams that do bring such away fans as we do. I don't think it's too hard to deal with. I think they could quite easily make that change. And so, like I say, stop being planks, make it happen. And there we go. We don't want any aggro, and this is exactly it, what Deborah's said here. It's not about aggro, it's just about us wanting to be, let's be honest, football is tribal. We want to be in with our tribe, and we want to be cheering our girls on. And I feel also for the Leicester fans, because do they really want to be sat where we are? I think I tweeted as well, there's some United fans that don't really want to be sat where we are. So why on earth would you want to do that if you're a Leicester fan?
Charlie brought up a really good point. When we were singing the song, when we were singing United, the Leicester fans were singing City. And it was going back and forth, and that was great, and that was part of the great, that was good. However, there was plenty of people who were looking at us because we were non-stop from minute 1 to minute 19. That's what they don't get sometimes.
And it was lovely because they were all giving it the Leicester, and as they were doing that, we were all going MU, MUF, MUFC, okay, and it was brilliant.
What's annoying though? Do you know what's annoying though? If it's the fact that I feel like people don't get it or don't like it. I genuinely feel like because it's women's football. That's how it feels like to me. Because some of these, not all of them, some of these same people would go to a men's football game and wouldn't blink twice at the behaviour. And I don't mean that in a bad way. That behaviour sounds like a bad word. But the segregation, but the chanting, some of the language you have. That's what bothers me. If you ask why don't you want this atmosphere? Why don't you want away sections? I just feel like the only answer can be because it's that. We don't have that in women's football. That's just what, and I might be completely wrong because I don't have these conversations with the people that make the decisions, but that's the impression that I get. They don't do that at Leicester. You do it for the men's games. What do you mean you don't do that at Leicester? Well, I find it bizarre.
I think it's important to make a point because these teams, like us, like United, Mark, you will know for years we've had a loyal following, away following through all the years, all the decades and all that. And it's like, United are one of the most popular teams and they're a renowned away support. We have other teams like, Leeds have a renowned support, Liverpool do, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, but we have massive support. And it's important. Yes, the likes of Brighton and Reading might not have a renowned away support, but for certain teams, even though it's just women's football, in inverted commas, United will always attract fans to go to games, whether it be men, women, reserves, whatever. We always have a low following through the first team all the way down. And they need to realise that if you want football to be on an equal pedestal, you're going to have to do things and treat it as if it's a normal game of football, which it is.
Well, it is a normal game of football, but ultimately, I just think people need to understand. I mean, this would have been put here, the staffing issue. I would volunteer if I was closer to help out with that. I just think it's vital that people understand who's coming to your ground. And if it's somewhere like United, where we constantly bring away fans, it's not like we don't. Give it to them. If they've asked for it, give it to them.
Look, last Tuesday, I went to Fleetwood Town to watch the under-21s play in the Papa John's Trophy against Fleetwood Town. There was over 1,000 travelling Reds, 1,000 at Fleetwood Town. We're talking Leicester yesterday. And John's absolutely right, and Charlie's right. We bring a travelling support. It's just what United are renowned to doing. Yesterday, on the coach coming from Manchester to Leicester, there was 22. It doesn't sound a lot, but it's a lot for a women's game coming on a coach to Leicester. We bring us support. All we're asking is give us a little section. You don't have to segregate us. Give us a section to say, Manchester United fans, buy here. That is your section. Leicester fans, buy anywhere else but here. That's it.
It only needs to be one block.
Yeah.
It's only one block. We're not asking for, stand behind the goal, are we? It's just that one specific block, isn't it?
You know what? Maybe this is a song for Durham. One block. We only want one block. So I'm expecting to hear that.
Yeah,
for sure.
It won't change anytime soon because I feel, and this is my own personal opinion, there are too many people who want to keep the game small. And what I mean by that is by getting the selfies, the stuff signed, and those things. You can't, if you get to Old Trafford 4.5 hours before a game, yeah, you might be lucky to see the manager coming in and a few players. And after the game, yeah, you can stand outside the Stretford end and get stuff signed and photographs. I'm sure people have done it. I've got no issue with that. But the only way for the women's game to grow is to grow the crowd and to grow the rivalries between fans. Barry, you put it absolutely correct. We're tribal about it. United are United, Leicester City are Leicester City. Grow the game that way. Grow it organically. Then worry about the other bits. But you can't do that by having home and away fans sat together. It just causes problems.
It really does. And I would argue, if you had a problem, follow my lead. Get in touch with Leicester. Actually have a go at them and say, look, this made us feel uncomfortable and it wasn't right and it wasn't helpful.
It was uncomfortable for your own fans as well.
Of course it is. It's massively uncomfortable for them. After the little bit of drama there was trying to move people, the two people that chose to sit in those seats, I mean, I've never seen people look so sheepish because what are you supposed to do? They just had to sit there resolutely whilst they had all of us people singing over their little bobble-hatted heads. Connor, I need you to do some work, my friend, within the comment section if you could. Meanwhile, whilst he's doing that, goodness me, we shall move on to Durham because that's all weird.
Hang on, let me just get the website address. What is it?
we should get our own block. We should take into our own hands, designate a block for us that don't get there really and say we're having this space, no one else around.
We won't have this trouble on
to be
Wednesday.
Honest, Connor, after we've just seen that, I don't really need to read that, so we'll move on. Very quickly because we've taken a lot of time on those away sections. We were going to preview Durham. Let's be honest, there's not a huge amount to shout about. We played them twice in the Championship, didn't beat them. We drew 0-0 and won 3-1. Yes, that's right. And we played them in the Conti Cup twice. Both times we've won, once on penalties after a draw, and a 1-0 one as well. So we've had a lot. We've had a lot going on. Durham's coming up. Have to ask all three of you, what's your thoughts on Wednesday? How is the team going to change? I'm going to give you about a minute and a half your points on how you feel yesterday's game is going to affect Wednesday and your general thoughts. And then we'll go around again and get your predictions. And we'll kick off with Charlie.
Durham are the most annoying side to me ever to live because it's absolute filth. So I think we're going to go a bit of physicality. I think Williams. I also expect to see Leon, Vilde-Borisa perhaps to come in. But I fully expect them to be like going in hard, like tackles, being pretty grim. So we've just got to be clever with that. I think. I expect us to win. Do you want my prediction as well?
Sorry. No, we'll come back.
Okay.
Me.
You're John, yes. Unless you change your name.
You say, John, so you blurred out, Barry. I think it'll be, you could tell it's going to be like a tough game. It's obviously an artificial surface, isn't it? So, I do expect us to, I think he has to put our relatively strong team. I think, I said this for the Villa game, I think he'll only really make maybe five six change because we can't afford to not win this one. So, yeah, hopefully, I think it'll be a difficult game, but hopefully we'll nick it.
Excellent. I'm a little bit worried here that John Fry actually thinks that Tunkara is Terminator. He's got her mixed up potentially there.
Oh, yeah.
She nearly killed Galton that time, remember? Was that in pre-season?
Well, I'm not surprised if she's got a bit of metal in her.
Like a good bouncer.
Galton's still with us. Mark, what's your thoughts?
I think you'll make changes. I think there's a couple that are obviously he's going to make. Bagley will probably start in goal. I think Tunkara will get a game. I think other than that, he might go strong. Look, Durham will go down in history as the first team to beat United since their reformation in 2018. It'll be a tough game, but I think we've got enough to get past them.
Excellent. And just before we go round to predictions, I've been asked to ask you about the song you started singing back at New Ferrens Park. Is that something we can do on a PG show?
There's no swearing in it. It's women's football, Barry. How dare you think I swear at women's football? How dare you, Barry? No, it was freezing, and I just said I just want my central heating on. That's all. I was just trying to do something to keep my mind occupied rather than freezing. It wasn't very good. I'm not Andy Slater or Shane or any of the others who come up with the songs.
Fair enough. To be fair, I was quite enjoying the Jade Moore and Thor songs. We were singing Jade Moore, She Wears For. I just changed it so she came on for Thor. But there we go. Charlie, score.
Do you know what?
I don't know.
I think,
not personally.
I think we will. Oh, I hate saying it. I think we're going to steamroll them this time.
She's done it again.
What?
Go on.
I think we're going to steamroll them. I do.
6-0?
Nah, I think 3 or 4. I think
that's what,
no, I think might concede one. I'm going 4-1.
4-1? We're going to concede.
There'll be something will go in the top corner that baggers can't quite get to.
Wow. Even TJ's not convinced anymore. You might be top at predicting, but getting a bad rap now. Big Johnny K, what's the score going to be on Wednesday?
I said it'll be a narrow one. I don't like predicting we'll concede, but I think we'll nick it 2-1.
Okie dokie. And Mark?
I think we'll win. I don't think it's going to be a steamroller, as Charlie says, but I think it'll be a comfortable 2-0, and they're struggling in the Championship this season. So I think we'll beat them, but it won't be a 10-0 as John Fry has just said. I think it'll be 2-0. However, the more sadistic side of me is hoping for penalties just so Ian has to do them on Twitter again, because I just love watching them suffer that way. But that's me being sadistic.
I don't think I could take it if we go to penalties again. I really don't.
Oh,
I really don't.
Penalties there are fun because everyone, depending on where the penalties are, you either run down to where we all are, or they all run to the other side. It's great fun.
Wow.
It's a rock charge.
Last season, the penalties were taken down at the United end, so we were just stood there going, well, we were in a great position. And everyone ran from the other side of the pitch down to us.
Well, there we go. We know that John is going to be making a day of it. He's going to be popping to the cathedral. Maybe he can drop in a little prayer for us there.
I will. I'll light a candle.
We're going to want him to do well. But listen, we've gone over the time. But what a show it's been. It's been brilliant. Well done, everyone in the comments. You've been awesome. Really helped to make the show what it is. My thanks again to Charlie, to Mark, and to Big Johnny K for popping on. In case you wasn't sure, we won the game yesterday. We won 1-0. We are 4 games unbeaten, not conceded a goal yet, top of the table, along with Arsenal. It was a fantastic moment to see that. But you wouldn't think it by looking at what some people are saying. We've had the dissection, but ultimately, I think we all just need to calm down a little bit and just enjoy being top whilst we still can. Because if it is all going to go and we're just going to end up fighting for third, we should really enjoy it whilst we're still there. And isn't that the idea? To enjoy the entirety of a season and not just react to the odd little game. So Who knows? But either way, it's good to be there. Thank you, and we'll see you throughout the week. We've got the Wednesday game against Durham, Thursday with the fans forum, Friday we're previewing Everton. So
And the vlog.
And there'll be a vlog there somewhere as well. Just keep watching, it'll be fine. Cheers all.